Here we are out in Somerset. We just had lunch. We didn't eat outside because when we got there it was sprinkling, so we went inside and ate. By the time we finished lunch and came out, the sun was out and we felt like we were relaxing and looking at the scenery. I think the firemen came down there to have their lunch and relax too. Here we are in Las Vegas. We had gone to Las Vegas in 1978. We had the group promotion site again. Gallows, the Marshalls, the Millers, the Sweeneys, and I think the Peters even went with us. This is looking, I'm standing in front of the Hotel of Flamingo where we were staying at. Right across was Caesars. Was the MGM building, which is right next to us, across the street on the same side. The dunes. This is Boulder Dam. Separates Arizona and Nevada. And that's, the bottom section is the Colorado River. Part of the Colorado River. And on the other side of the dam is Lake Mead. Here we are down on the bottom of the dam on the Colorado River side where the powerhouse is located. We had a tour of the dam and the powerhouse, had a movie on the building of the dam. You stand next to that dam, you feel awful small. Here's Circus out on the strip. It's just one hotel and casino right after the other. I guess we were about 3/4 of a mile down the strip from this section. Maybe only 4 casinos and hotels away. Frontier, where Wayne Newton has been appearing for many, many years. The ladies wanted to see his show, but he was sold out for the week already while we were there. That looks like one of those Las Vegas chapels, famous chapels across the street. Wedding chapels. Here's a picture of our hotel, the Flamingo. This was the tower, had just been completed, partially completed. We stayed in that. I guess we were some of the first occupants of the tower. Looks like we're getting to depart to come home. Bill and Jean Marshall had one of the big nights in downtown Vegas at the slot machine. They won over $800, I think, at the slot machine. Here's Betty's graduation from high school. She finally made it. It was in 1978 Beth graduated. Look at that. She don't close her eyes when I take a picture. She sticks her tongue out at me now. Oh, this was Larry and Robin and the kids visiting us. We're over in the Bronx Zoo. I guess Larry and Larry are feeding the lions, or their lions are feeding them. There's little Stephanie. That was the first time we had seen Steph. Oh, that's right. And that weekend, Deborah came up from Virginia Beach with her girlfriend. We had a barbecue in the backyard. She visited with her sister. Grandma and Grandpa O'Connell was out. Oh, Ray didn't have his garage built yet. He had his trailer, his camping trailer. Oh, here we are on that famous trip to the Statue of Liberty. This is at Battery Park waiting for the ferry to take us to the Statue of Liberty on an excursion boat. We thought it'd be a good day because it was overcast with a little sprinkles, and nobody would go to the Statue of Liberty. This is from the base of the Statue of Liberty. That's looking at Manhattan, downtown Manhattan. There off in the distance is the old Brooklyn Bridge, and on the right is Brooklyn. That's right, while we were there, a helicopter, a sightseeing helicopter, came past. I guess we were taking pictures of them and they were taking pictures of us. That's Ellis Island, in the distance. These pictures were taken at the platform the Statue of Liberty. The next level down, we had to come down for a little fresh air and room to stretch. This is all in 1978. And this here is the Danbury Fair in Danbury, Connecticut. This was the last year that the Danbury Fair was in existence. It closed up after this, and they built a complex, a housing or a shopping complex. This is the competition they have for the farmers in the area. That was the original intent of the Danbury Fair. That's their oxen pulling weights. Lauren Miller remembers going up and seeing the exact same show when he was a kid to the Danbury Fair. We went up with Ida Mae and Lauren. And there are the two great, Ida Mae and Muriel, preparing for Hannibal's ride across the Alps to conquer Europe with the elephants. What women will do to get on a camera. They wouldn't go on a Ferris wheel. We ate our way right through the whole fair. Oh. Disneyland. We didn't get too good a result with the camera in Disneyland, but the next day we went over to Busch Gardens. This was all in 1978. We spent the day at Disney World, and then we spent one day at Busch Gardens. And then we continued over. Whoa. Tommy was in the Coast Guard at Hobie Beach, near Jupiter Inlet. He was stationed there, so on the way down to the Keys, we stopped and visited him. That's his Loran C Tower. That's where he used to report to work every day. Do his work. And this was his so-called barracks, so this is where he lived. What barracks they were. This is in Key West, Florida. This is the public dock, and it's a large parking field where now it's become quite the thing. It was starting then to come and watch the sunset. It was a very obstructed sunset. It's the southernmost point in the United States. And they'll serve you all types of conch shells. This was the day we were getting ready to come home. We had some time before the flight, so we took a cruise on Miami Bay and Biscayne Bay. These are some of the, I think that's Miami Beach in the background. Yeah, there's some of the big hotels, and there's one of the islands with the private residence on them. And that's Miami, the city of, which is on the mainland. These are where the cruise ships leave from Port Miami. They go through the Caribbean and down to South America on their cruises. This was all in 1978. This is Key, that was the lighthouse at Key Biscayne. Now Key Biscayne is where the harbor for Miami is. They're bay houses or bungalows. They're built on stilts over the shallow water, and the people live there. Or vacation there. This is the lighthouse at Key Biscayne Point again. This is in Portland, Maine, on our trip going to Nova Scotia with Aunt Betty, Sister Grace, Earl and I. This was in 1979. We took the ferry across from Portland, Maine to Yarmouth, Nova Scotia. It was an overnight trip. We had a cabin to sleep in. This is about 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning. We're approaching Yarmouth Harbor. You can see the lighthouse for Yarmouth in the distance. We had a very smooth crossing. We're going across the Bay of Maine and part of the Bay of Fundy. Always seemed to be overcast or foggy in Nova Scotia. This was in September, the so-called fall of the year. They were preparing for snow. They figured about a week, 2 weeks after we were there, they started with their first snow. This is a park, an Arcadia Park, an old church dedicated to the Arcadians who had settled in Nova Scotia and Canada when French controlled Canada and Nova Scotia. They were driven out of Nova Scotia and Canada during the French and English wars because they wouldn't pledge their allegiance to the crown. So they left and went down to the New Orleans, Louisiana area and became Arcadians. This is on the ferry crossing over to Prince Edward Island. This is the Northumberland crossing. The Straits of Northumberland is what it's called. Very, very deep water. And it's not extremely cold because of the Gulf Stream that passes very close to the shore up there near Prince Edward Island. I was trying to get a shot of the high tides or the effects of how fast the tides change. This is in the Straits, but it doesn't show up how the water comes in with a little ripple and don't go back out again. This is back on the ferry coming back to Nova Scotia. This is in the fort in Halifax. This was the first fort ever built to protect Halifax Harbor by the British. It's now a historical site. There are no army troops or military personnel. It's run by the Historical Society. Now, to simulate occupation of troops, they hire college students during the season to perform the tasks of the military, doing guard duty and sentry work, and they dress of the period of when the fort was active during the early settlement of Halifax. This overlooks the harbor of Halifax on the top of a hill. This is Peggy's Cove, the lighthouse at Peggy's Cove on the eastern banks or the eastern shores of Nova Scotia. The eastern shores of Nova Scotia is pretty near all stone, lots of fog. The cold waters of the Atlantic are always around through here. This Peggy's Cove, even though it is very narrow, it is very, very deep. It's a stone formation, natural stone formation, and they've had whales come into this cove, even though it's so narrow. You can throw a stone across many portions of it. But the deep cold water, they've had whales in here, and they've photographed them. This is on the ferry getting ready to return to Maine, Portland, Maine. We left Yarmouth early in the morning. Everybody was trying to get a good seat out in the sun. Sister Grace got herself a sunburn. There we are back home. It looks like we've got the Thompsons visiting us again. That's Jennifer. That's the first time we've seen Jennifer. Now this was in the summer of 1979. No, 1980. She visited us in 1980. That's Jennifer over in the Heinlein's pool, I guess with Derek or Corey. Jennifer. I think that's Corey in our pool, in the pool here in our yard now with them. And here they are getting ready to leave. And Stephanie became camera shy. She had a teddy bear. And that's the first time I ever knew Stephanie to be camera shy. Here's Muriel and I back in Bermuda. This was our last trip in 1981. We were over, I think, in the westerly portion of the Bermuda Islands, where we hadn't been before, where the old governor's mansion, part of a military prison, and this is the military prison where previously they had kept those that were being executed. This is the area that used to be the U.S. Navy sub base during the World War II. It's now British Army prison. There's a museum out there. Some of the older buildings of the westerly island of Bermuda. This is overlooking the entrance to Hamilton Harbor, so that's why they had built fortifications on this portion of it. And that looks like it's the end of our film.